And I completely agree with you about how, like, that's the direction we should be heading towards, and have a multidisciplinary approach is what should be the norm. Because, like, today I talked to my friends, like, in engineering and everything, like, they've never even, like, explored the south side of campus. Like, you can tell, like, it's only, like, North Quad is mainly engineering, right? So, and that just makes me think, like, okay, you're going to spend 4 years here, but you're never going to fully explore or, like, just see the extent of how much we have on this campus. And
Yeah,
that just, like, blows my mind. Like, I wish there were more. I wish, like, one thing is personal, an intrinsic motivation to explore
yeah.
and to see different departments. But um, if there could be done, if there could be something that could be done for people to seek these things, like, that's the like what we should be going towards. And I think,
I could agree with you more. And again, I'll use Tom Siebel as an example. And this structure that we're sitting in now, part of the original vision was to put this up on the North Campus.
oh,
But it wouldn't have done anything to address the issue
exactly.
you're talking about. When Tom was first approached about investing in this this Center for Design Thinking, originally the thought was to put it up on the North Campus, but my former provost, who hopefully you still remember, I think he was one of the greatest provosts in all of higher education, Andreas Cangelares, former dean of Granger, and former head of computer and electrical engineering department, convinced Tom that in order to foster
Hmm.
that interdisciplinary interaction, that you needed to place this not up on the North Campus, but here closer to the South Campus,
Right.
where just what we thought. There are more than 38 different department of colleges that, I mean, you just walk through it at any point in time, you find students from all over the university, not just from the engineering or the business school, that are utilizing the assets that we built into this building. So that is very much was strategic and intentional on our part. And how do you facilitate something? Design thinking is for every discipline, not just for
Exactly.
engineers. It's got to be for people in social sciences, the humanities, as well as the ones in liberal arts and sciences as well. And that's the reason that this place is sitting where it is today.
Like, solving problems is going to need people to go beyond, like, the standard thinking.
Well, it's become very clear, even in my own discipline, is when I was hired at University of Minnesota, 1978, I was hired to be part of a multidisciplinary team that would approach the issue of how do we improve the yield of important agricultural crops. The notion is that that was mainly done by the plant breeders
Mm.
using traditional plant breeding techniques. Well, we know the impact of genomics and mapping
Right.
the genome has had on that. And it really has become more multidisciplinary approaches because the physiologists, molecular biologists were supposed to study the underlying mechanism that you're trying to improve, understand where the shortcomings are, and then you use genetic engineering techniques to now modify those characteristics in plants and animals, fungus, virus, or whatever it might be. So this whole multidisciplinary approach to problem solving has been going on for decades now, but really has come into its own using genomics, for example, to bring about the changes in traits that you want to see in plants or animals to make them more productive has kind of been one of the hallmarks of my own discipline. And it clearly is applicable in other disciplines as well. As a case in point, some of the work that's been going on about gun violence in urban community is now being connected to the genomics work that's going on in IGB, the Institute of Genomic Biology, because the interest from a social scientist who wanted to understand fundamentally if you grow up in an environment where there's constant gun violence, that has to have some environmental effect on gene expression that may lead to disparate health outcomes for one zip code versus the other. And sure enough, that's what the data clearly shows. You can be in juxtaposed community where there's a prevalence of violence and the prevalence of certain diseases are much higher in one than they are the other. And a lot of it has to do with the stress associated with living in an environment related to gun violence. And so there's all these gene environmental interactions that come to play, and you can really only understand those if you're taking a multi academic perspective and approach to trying to find solutions, the underlying cause, and then finding the mitigation strategy that's going to have the most impact.